This video is a little different than what I usually do. I'll be commenting throughout the video, and this is a video of what real sovereign citizenry is all about. It's anti-government, kill the police. The government has no meaning to them. They don't pay taxes. They'll open fire on cops in a heartbeat. And today we have people who pretend to be sovereign citizens so they can go out with their camera and upload their stuff to YouTube and show everybody how tough they are when they're talking and refusing to do this and refusing to do that and trying to explain the law that doesn't exist. And your First Amendment auditors use this. They won't call themselves sovereign citizens. In fact, they adamantly deny it when they do their videos. If you confront them on it, they'll deny it. But this is what they're doing. They're doing the same thing. They think that they're entitled to everything and nobody has any jurisdiction over them, or they can't ask for their driver's licenses. And this is a deadly organization. This is not a joke. They're deemed as a terrorist organization, domestic terrorist organization, and that may be a little steep, I don't know, but there's been example after example of how dangerous these people can be. So we'll get started with the video here in just a moment. Fred's talking to me. I don't know what he wants. He's sitting on my stomach and it's very uncomfortable and he won't move and I don't know what to do about it. So maybe you can help me out here. Come on, Fred. That's my stomach. I just ate. Get off my belly. Anyway, enjoy the video. Like I said, it's a little bit different.
May the 20th, 2010 started out like any other day. Two veterans of our West Memphis, Arkansas Police Department, Bill Evans and Brandon Powdert, were patrolling the interstate as part of the department's drug interdiction team, something they love to do. They became involved in what seemed to be a routine traffic stop, though I've always warned my officers there is no such thing. But really, how much more routine can you get than pulling over a father and son in what looked like a church bus? My men didn't realize who or what they were dealing with. Neither officer made it home. And one of them was my son.
This is what the scammers choose to emulate as their lifestyle. This kind of thing right here. A lot of people don't know about the real sovereign citizens, but you're fixing to get a lesson in them. That's just disturbing what we just saw.
I'm Bob Powdert, Chief of the West Memphis Police Department. My officers, Bill and my son Brandon, didn't realize that there are people at war with this country that are not international terrorists. They are seemingly ordinary people, just like you and me, but they don't recognize the federal government's authority to impose laws or taxes on them. They're known as sovereign citizens. Their beliefs may sound so out there that they appear comical or crazy, but don't discount or ignore these people because they're willing to kill and be killed for these beliefs. We as law enforcement officers need to recognize this very real threat so we can protect ourselves. And maybe if Brandon and Bill had been able to recognize the warning signs of sovereign beliefs, they'd be alive today.
You know, I don't like the government interfering with my life, getting into my business, tapping phones, and charging these ridiculous fines for not having life insurance or whatever it was, health insurance back several years ago. Thank God that's gone now. $500 a year if you couldn't afford to have insurance. But I'm not going to take a gun and go out and express my disdain for it in this fashion. Most people wouldn't. Most normal people wouldn't do that.
In 1995, 168 men, women, and children were killed in the worst domestic terrorist attack on American soil in our nation's history. Aimed at the federal government and law enforcement, the bombing in Oklahoma City was the horrific symbol of the wave of anti-government sentiment that swept across the country in the 1990s. I'm retired ATF Special Agent in Charge, James Cavanaugh. I spent more than 30 years with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and I was there at the beginning of the so-called Patriot movement. I watched in 1992 as the standoff between law enforcement and a white separatist, Randy Weaver, in Ruby Ridge, Idaho, ended with the deaths of a federal marshal and Weaver's wife and son. I was there in the shootout the next year when David Koresh and more than 70 of his followers, along with 4 ATF agents, died in a fiery siege near Waco, Texas. What we didn't understand at first was that these events were a catalyst for the growth of a radical anti-government movement, a catalyst for the birth of armed militias.
I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with Ruby Ridge and the Tim McVeigh story. Two totally different kind of deals, but they both considered themselves immune from the government, didn't have to follow their laws. Whichever side of the fence you fall on either one of these things, murdering innocent children in a daycare center because it's a federal building, there's no excuse for that, none at all. The Ruby Ridge thing is it's a different sort of a situation, but basically they had the same belief system. It doesn't matter which side of the deal you fall on either one of these stories. You know, the behavior led to the end result, which is sad. It is sad, but it is what it is. It's what happened.
At its height, there were more than 800 of these anti-government groups throughout the country. Some were part of what is called the sovereign citizen movement. They believe the government has no right to tax or impose laws on them. Following law enforcement crackdowns after Oklahoma City, many anti-government groups disappeared. But the threat from hardcore elements of the radical right continued to simmer. In fact, between the Oklahoma City bombing and the recent West Memphis shootings, approximately 30 law enforcement officers lost their lives to homegrown extremists. 2 officers were killed in Abbeville, South Carolina in 2003, for example, by extremists who did not believe the government had any right to use a tiny portion of their land to widen a public road.
I don't believe the government should be taking people's land and using it for what they want to use it for, but it's legal. I mean, the Department of, I guess it's Land Management, makes those decisions. We had one recently just across the Red River here in Oklahoma, where the Oklahoma line is, about 20 miles from here, where a guy fought him for years. He finally came to a compromise with him. I mean, they pay you for the land, but they give you market value from a century ago for the land. It's kind of a rip-off, really, but it happened.
Today, the threat of radical right violence against police officers has escalated because the radical anti-government movement has swelled once again. Jerry and Joe Kane, the father and son who were involved in the murders of the 2 officers in West Memphis, traveled around the country giving seminars on how to supposedly circumvent the legal system.
So what we're after here is not fighting, it's conquering.
Right.
I don't want to have to kill anybody. But if they keep messing with me, that's what it's going to have to come out. That's what it's going to come down to, is I'm going to have to kill, and if I have to kill one, then I'm not going to be able to stop. I just know it. I mean, I have an addictive...
What I'm hearing, what he's saying is that if you hold me accountable for my behaviors, he's going to kill you. That's what he's saying. He doesn't want to kill anybody, but if you try to hold him accountable for his behaviors, that's what's going to happen to you. And he taught his son the same thing, and his son took part in this murder willingly because of what his dad taught him. Don't raise your kids that way. Don't be stupid.
Along with physical confrontations, sovereigns also practice a form of harassment and intimidation, often referred to as paper terrorism. They file bogus claims or liens against officers, prosecutors, or judges that can be difficult to get removed from court records. In 2010 alone, sovereign citizens have filed liens, cease and desist orders, and documents called letters of marque, or truth affidavits, against officers and agencies across the country.
Now we're getting into more familiar territory with all this barrage of paperwork from these YouTube experts on the law filing all these bogus claims and stuff, which all get dismissed. Nobody's ever won a case on any of that nonsense. I think there have been 1 or 2 Sovcits that have been successful in court over technicalities, but it is the exception, it is not the rule. They don't win any of their cases like they say they do. They'll tell you they did. They'll show you a stamp on a thing they gave to the court saying that the court accepted the paperwork. It doesn't say that they won their case. All it says is the clerk of court accepted paperwork that you provided as evidence. That's all it says, nothing more.
The following are some indicators that you as an officer need to be aware of to protect yourself. They are signs that the person you've encountered considers himself to be a sovereign citizen who is immune from the law. The first thing that any officer notices at a traffic stop is the vehicle's license plate. If you try to call in many sovereign plates, you'll find no record of them, and for good reason. They're either homemade or professionally produced fakes. They may display the names of strange nations, embassies, or tribes. They may refer to the Uniform Commercial Code or the Constitution. Bumper stickers are another easily visible sign of sovereign beliefs. One that reads Posse Comitatus, which is Latin for power or force of the county, means the driver believes county officials, such as sheriffs, are the highest level of law enforcement, and that the federal government and its officers don't have any legal authority.
On a personal note, I have a sticker on the back window of my Tahoe that says 45 ACP because shooting twice is just stupid. That thing gets a lot of looks, I'll tell you what. I had a lady get out of her car in the McDonald's drive-through lane and got out and took a picture of that, and then got back in her car and waved to me. It was funny. Anyway, enough of me.
Stickers such as I am an American national or not subject to corporate federal or corporate state jurisdiction are signs that the vehicle's occupants are part of the radical anti-government movement. When asked for their driver's license, vehicle registration, or other identification, sovereigns may show documents that at first might look legitimate, but after a closer inspection are obviously fake. The fake driver's license could have the words, without prejudice, UCC 1-207, a reference to the Uniform Commercial Code. What might look like a real Social Security card to you may actually read, Social Security, Socialism in America, still 100% voluntary, for global domination and slavery, not for identification. Sovereigns often will have unusual responses to routine questions about their identification or license plate. If the officer asks the person's name, a sovereign may respond, I am a free man, traveling upon the land, or what authority do you have to question a sovereign? If asked for a driver's license, the person might say, is one required of a sovereign? Or they might ask you for your delegation of authority. If you continue questioning them, they might say, officer, I do not believe I, nor this private vehicle, falls under your jurisdiction, and here is the proof. Then they might show you what appear to be legal documents.
And again, we've seen many of those documents presented to law enforcement on YouTube, because that's where they make their money. They're copying an organization. It's not really an organization, it's a bunch of people that believe the same thing. They're not organized, not very well anyway. But they show their fake paperwork and fake plates and this and that and claim all this sovereign bullshit. And it's crazy, but we've seen it. We've seen it all.
Jerry Kane handed West Memphis officers Brandon Powder and Bill Evans some odd-looking papers. Powder and Evans didn't recognize the documents or understand what they meant. Many sovereigns sign legal documents in red ink or with a thumbprint in red ink. The subject's name might be in all capital letters or have strange punctuation, such as the first name, then a hyphen, then the middle name, followed by a colon and the last name. Sovereigns believe this type of capitalization and punctuation shows they are immune from government authority. Some sovereigns may record their encounters with police, possibly in an effort to intimidate the officers. They might warn the officer that they are recording the encounter and then say something like, I am reserving all of my common law rights. Some of these recordings showing the officers are then posted on the sovereign's websites. Now you have some knowledge on how sovereigns operate. Form a strategy within your department with your training section, your tactical section, and your commanders, and be prepared to implement that strategy when you encounter sovereigns. Have a procedure where you, your dispatchers, and your colleagues all understand that you're dealing with a sovereign citizen, a person who doesn't believe that you have any authority over him. These tips are only a few of the signs of possible sovereign beliefs. Just recognizing one or two might mean that your workday will end like every other, and you'll get to go home to your family.
Hello? 1-1, where's your emergency? Exit 275 on 40. These guys just shot a police officer right on the exit. You said officer's been shot on 270 what? Exit 275 on 40. 275 on 40. Where are you right now? I'm at the exit right in front of me, about 100 feet. Okay, it's a white what? It's a white caravan, a white guy. Please hurry. He's not. Oh my God! Oh shit! 2 cops are dead. The other one's in the ditch. They're both dead now. They killed both cops. They shot one. He fell in the ditch. The other one ran behind the car, and they shot him in the hand. All right, where's the suspect now? They just left in a white caravan. They went right up the exit. That guy had an automatic weapon. They're all with automatic weapons. So where are you at now? I'm standing right over the top. All right, what kind of vehicle are you in? Well, I'm in a FedEx truck. You can't miss it.
This video had images of the officers dead, and then later on it has images of the guy's son deceased laying on the ground. I cut those out. I'm not going to show that kind of garbage on here. Continue on.
That had shots fired, possibly a white van was going to be the suspect. 615, if you got more traffic, he's alright with me.
Jerry and Joe Kane were finally stopped for good after they killed my son and his partner that day, but not before 2 other courageous officers were injured. We, as law enforcement professionals, face danger every day.
I ended the video before it showed the images of the deceased 2 people that committed these murders, all in the name of anti-government rhetoric, to prove that they weren't accountable to the government. Well, they ended up in a body bag where they belonged. They probably should have been there before they got this far, but that's how it went. That's why a lot of people make fun of these Sovcits and these First Amendment auditors and bullshitters and scam artists, because this is what they're emulating. This is who they think will make them the most money on YouTube, selling their little videos, acting this way. They don't even have any idea how serious what they're doing is. They're just not very bright people, obviously. Anyway, that's a video. Hope you liked it. If you did, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you liked it, or if you like the channel. Anyway, y'all have a great day now. Bye.